two people who are engaged talking about a potential wedding. The guy feels like a court wedding is enough. The fiance on the other side, the woman, is thinking of going extravagant. So she's thinking of a big wedding, citing that that's what she wants. That's what the guy knows she wants. The guy should know what she's used to. And this guy, to be fair, doesn't seem like a really broke guy. I think he's just money because he's and he made her use a certain lifestyle or made her know that he has money. So for her, it's a clash they're having that can potentially shape the way their relationship is going to be. That is going to get married, we don't know. But yeah, that really is the crux of the matter. So we brought the question to our Facebook Live to kind of hash it out, put our opinions out there, and see what people have to say about it too. Should a woman to be able to adjust her lifestyle to meet her man's financial status? So we're discussing this in a bigger context, not necessarily their particular video. Yeah, it's a simple question, and I think it's gonna be an interesting one. Hopefully, we'll be here for at least half an hour, 45 minutes, and
Hmm.
get thoughts and comments from our viewers. So, when you watch a video, just to be clear, we're going to discuss the video, but our conversation is not going to be entirely based on the video. When you watched it, what were your thoughts? Did you think she was being unreasonable? Think the guy was boundaryless?
I don't think that they were really having um the kind of conversation that you would have if you want to reason with someone. It came across as someone having a position and not willing to compromise. Uh, and when you have a conversation with someone who has taken a position or who feels like they deserve something or they are entitled to something, those conversations really don't go anywhere because the other party isn't necessarily listening to what reasons you try to bring to that conversation, right? So that is the impression I got from watching that little video. And I think this is a very common phenomenon between couples. I don't know, boyfriend, girlfriends, husbands, wives, where someone takes a position, especially when it comes to finances and lifestyle. And they take a position and they are not willing to make any compromise, right? It happens very often. And I think there's usually uh, a problem, especially with the man, not really being able to clearly set uh, the tone of that conversation or the tone of the relationship.
Right.
I listened to this guy, the guy from the video, the entire time. He wasn't really firm on any specific decision that he thought was he had no position. He
Yeah.
kept asking all these questions, but really at the end of the day, he wasn't taking any position. He wasn't saying I cannot afford the kind of lifestyle or the kind of wedding that you are looking for, right? He wasn't clearly saying that. He wasn't clearly saying as well that he could afford it. He was
Right.
somewhere on the fence.
It
It's
wasn't
you
where you
draw your own conclusions, right? So what do you expect the lady on the other side to think? You're giving her the impression that you can afford it. At the same time, giving her the impression that you either are not willing to or cannot afford. The message was a little confusing, and I think that is a problem with men most times.
know.
Indecisiveness. You're not willing to take a decision and stand by it, whether it's good or bad, whether the consequences are in your favor or against you. At some point, you need to be able to take a decision and say, okay, this is where I stand. I cannot afford what you're asking for. I cannot get you a new car, right? I cannot get you a new car. I don't have the means, the finances to get you a new car,
Mhm.
and stand by it no matter what the consequences may be. Does is that something that you need to really think about before you go ahead and get serious with a lady? Definitely yes. I you need to take your financial situation seriously. You need to take what her expectations of you are when it comes to lifestyle and finances seriously before you get into any serious relationship with anyone. Be it a man or a woman, it's not a one side against the other. It's like both of you need to really take this conversation seriously before you choose to settle or you choose to
And I
get in a
thought,
relationship.
the girl was really honest. And she made it clear that that's the kind of life that she's used
She
to.
wants, right?
She, she, she's very clear that I'm used to a certain way of living, and I expect you to provide that for me. It sounded like the guy in the past has done that, but when it came to the major decision that we were about to embark on together, he was not willing to put out a huge amount of money.
Hmm.
Uh, to be fair to the guy, he was in support of just a simple court wedding,
Hmm.
but he citing finances, but again, he wasn't really firm. Like, this is why I really want a simple wedding.
Hmm.
It didn't sound like finances were the main issue. Maybe it was
Hmm.
just a preference, but he said apparently he wasn't broke because he's done a lot of things for her. One thing I want to bring here that caught my attention. Why are these conversations usually recorded? Does it add a different dynamic? Because for me, when you're having a conversation, particularly a significant other, and you start to record, it almost feels like you're gaslighting or you're collecting evidence to defend yourself. Some sort of it's part of gaslighting. Uh, did you feel? I mean, it gives us great content, but then between husband and wife, girlfriend and boyfriend in any long-term relationship, but as soon as you guys start having a conversation and you pull out your phone, to me, it seems like you're setting the other person up for failure
But
or setting.
that should definitely tell you a lot about the person you're dealing with. Those conversations are intimate, private, supposed to be
Right.
intimate, private conversations for you and the person you're talking with. Once you whip out your phone and start recording, the question is, does the other party know that you're actually recording the conversation? And if they know, how honest can that conversation be? If I get a feeling that you're recording this conversation and you know it might eventually get to a third party. How serious or how honest can I really be in having that conversation with you, right? And I don't think it's fair for uh the other party. I don't think that is something that we should be doing. I don't think it makes sense.
But
Come on, sorry.
everything is content nowadays. People like record everything of their lives and put it out on social media, and they wonder why they
And
get all these hateful comments.
it begs the question if at all it was just an act
Right.
or a show, or was it really an actual legitimate serious situation that, because again with social media now, people act and record stuff, and people might believe that this is really reality when it's not. But again, I think the important thing here is we are taking the message as opposed to trying to figure out what the circumstances were. It is the message that we want to talk about, right? And again, it kind of brings me back. Are men really always honest about their financial situations when they meet a woman? You think men
Yeah.
would, from the first 1, 2, 3 dates, tell you like, "Hey, this is what my financial situation is, and this is how far I can go." Do you think those conversations happen early enough?
I don't think they happen nearly as much as they should. And part of it is not people not willing to have this conversation. Part of it is just people being naive, caught in the emotions of a new relationship at times. People not mature enough. Because for me, many of these things you get experience with them when you already been in the relationship. You're like, oh, this is what we should have had. And married people seem to give a lot of advice on social media, forgetting that we were once in that position too, and probably they did not ask all those questions. Um, it is hard to do when you're just in a new relationship and you're trying to please each other. when you don't have the experience, um, I know people push a lot of marriage counseling to be able to help you figure out these things, but I think people generally lack the experience to be able to ask these questions precisely. I would like people to do it more, but marriage counseling certainly helps people prepare them for all these things to make you ask the difficult questions upfront before you engage. Probably one of the most important relationships in your life,
Hmm.
with someone who's not family related. But yeah, I don't think people ask it enough. I think people should. I think people should lean on other people to help them ask these questions upfront, listen to those who have experience more than you.
But do you think men are honest? If a woman were to ask you how much money you make per month, or what's your financial situation like, and you really like this girl and you want to have something to do with her, would
Yeah,
you think most men are honest with really explaining what that looks like?
I don't think so.
Mm.
I usually men are trying to sleep with the woman. I think that's what usually happens in a relationship. So that plays the factor. So guys will either inflate their financial situations or portray, um, not fully portray who they are financially. But I don't really think it's a man problem. I think, well, money, certainly is a man problem. There are other things that
Hmm.
women will talk about money now. Money is usually a man problem. I think men, most men are not honest. Particularly in Africa, where it's kind of hard to figure out one's salary. I think here you can kind of go on the internet and figure out how much a person is usually paid if
But
they're honest.
they would have to tell you what they do. Do- do
That
we?
also put the expectation on the woman to be able to ask incisive questions. What do you do? What is it that you do exactly? Um, what is your position and whatever? And I think those are questions that you should clear out by the first, second date. You
Mhm.
shouldn't wait till when you're getting ready to marry before you start asking what someone does for work. Um, so I think women are pretty good at asking these questions to figure out where the man stands. Because believe me, between the first and second day, I think most women can figure out if they have a future with this man. If the man is honest, there's that part that we can't forget. If the man is honest, I think women are better at reading minds and keeping track of a man's conversation, particularly if they have interest in dating the man and seeing any potentials for a serious relationship. I think women have the intuition that they can think um, and figure these things early on that men actually can lie about it. Does that make sense?
So in a situation like the one we were talking about, who is to, because I get the impression that the man had allowed this girl to live a certain lifestyle, and he's been so far. I get the impression he's been able to um to to financially meet that lifestyle, right? And then 2 3 years into relationship,
Yeah.
now he's saying that no, I can't do this anymore because you seem to be only interested in a certain lifestyle and in the money and in social media and your friends and impressing others. So is he to be blamed for leading this woman
I
to
think, I think
through a certain lifestyle, taking her to vacations here and there, spending this much money, just to turn around and say you seem to be too focused on the money?
I think he's setting to be blamed because one thing that was very obvious, he has no boundaries. He has set himself up for failure. Apparently, he's been funding the bills because he says that I've been doing everything for you. I've been, paying for a lot of things for you. I think the man, he has no boundaries. And the one time he wants to have a boundary is when they're about to marry, which is a big decision to make. I would think if they've been having these conversations on the little things, the woman will be coming, with a sort of understanding where the guy is coming from. Because the way she sounded, it's like the guy has the money. The guy has been able to fund such huge bills in the past. It's like for me, what stood out for me is the guy who's switching the flip because this woman already had a lifestyle before, agree or not with it, it's what she's used to. But
Hmm.
he's the one flipping the switch. Oh, I don't want to live the lifestyle that I provided you before. I just want to do a simple cut wedding. It sounded like she was the one that was taken aback, not really the guy.
Can we assume why the switch at this time?
Why?
Did he just realize now that it was all about
Maybe,
a certain lifestyle?
yeah. And well, to be fair, we're doing a lot of assumptions here
Yeah.
because we don't know the details of it.
No, I mean, put yourself in a situation where you've done everything for this girl. I mean, would you just realize now that this girl is all about a certain lifestyle?
Right, right. For me, I don't think those red flags are new. I think the guys have probably seen those red flags before. He's either ignored them or he thought they were cute, so he kind of enhanced them. They have been occurring for what I saw, the dynamics I kind of saw between the two of them. These red flags have been there. It's just
Hmm.
he chose to ignore it. And right now, for an important decision, he tries to. It's like you have ignored all the little things that has happened in the past where you could have set boundaries.
Hmm.
The one thing that she's probably told you about, or maybe you have not really told her your expectation about, you're trying to set a boundary. It's like, whoa, 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 where is this coming from? You never set boundaries. You'll be able to fulfill my financial need whenever and however I ask. And now you want to set a boundary? Really, bro. Really. But again, we are guys, we are a little bit biased. So I felt like she was honest. He maybe pretended, I don't know, maybe he has the money, maybe he really wants a cut wedding, I don't know. But I feel like he was the one who was setting the boundary for the first time when he has failed in other opportunities to be able to set expectations and set boundaries for the relationship.
Do you think that men always want to, they say someone is way above your league. It's not just about beauty, right? It goes also about class levels, financial means. Do you think men most times don't um don't take that into consideration when they are approaching a girl or a woman to ask for a relationship? Because again, sometimes we meet these girls, they're well dressed, they may drive a nice car, they have a good job, probably makes a lot more money than you. And you know, men usually don't think about that. They see a woman and that's what they want. Um, do you think that situations like that always some sort of end up like this, where he might even go above and beyond his means, borrow money here, get involved in this and that, just to accommodate the level that this girl is, and maybe after a year or two, you realize, hey, this is too much work for me. I cannot accommodate this. Do you think that men usually will go want to leave above and beyond their means because they are intending to impress or satisfy or accommodate a
I,
lady?
I I think a lot of men do that. They start by lying about what they do, how much they earn, um,
Hmm.
how much they are willing to financially provide for the woman. A lot of men do that. It's sad. I would like men to be more honest. And part of this too is women who have a lot of expectations of men. Um, place a lot of demands up front. Some women want to go to a particular place for a date. They only want to date men who make a certain amount of money. So of course, these men have to lie, and then for a while you have to live with that lie. Like the saying usually goes, women um, fall for what they hear, and men fall for what they see. So women wear makeup, and men have to lie about their money. It's sadly more common. The guys that I'm used to, they don't really, they, they tend to set the record straight after a little while. They're like, yeah,
Hmm.
so, um, it is sad to see that some men who continue their life probably have to go borrow money to set an impression for a lady that really have, that you really have. I think when you guys get off the highs of the relationship, of the going out to eat, always, or the lovey-dovey stage, you should be able to kind of, understand if you can financially sustain this lady or not. I hope men will do that. But I think a lot of men lie about their financial status just to impress a girl. I don't really have a major problem with that impression at the beginning of the relationship. But when you guys are all set, up in terms of getting married, the woman, I think it's fair for the woman to be able to understand where your financial situation is and what the expectation of a wedding, of a relationship should be. Those are all fair questions that women should be able to ask, get into a relationship. And men, I think men too should be able to ask all those questions. Um, what how finances gonna be in our relationship. So the men do that, yes, but I think the majority of men, when they settle in the relationship, try to come back to their normal. But maybe the women are already used to a certain lifestyle, so they
Mhm,
might.
mhm,
So let's go now to the question. Should women in a relationship be able to have or to adjust their financial situation to meet the guys' need? That's what the questions we're discussing right now. Say this woman is used to all this lifestyle. Let's forget about the wedding. Wedding is a one-time thing. Maybe you guys can deal with that and get over that hurdle. But should a woman adjust her lifestyle to meet her man's financial situation? We're assuming here that there's full transparency and the woman knows the guy's financial situation, and the guy sort of has an idea or has an idea of how this woman's past is financially. Should she be able to adjust that, or should the man just go out and figure out a way to make more money? So that is the question that we're asking. One of the issues that we face with people not addressing is like these expectations were not set earlier. Um, I mean, I don't want to over label the point of a marriage counseling. I think everybody should go for marriage counseling before they get married.
That's a whole different conversation. Everybody should go for what?
Marriage counseling. Oh, well, that's funny.
I don't think I know anyone. I mean, I have a good
Right.
number of friends who are
Um,
married from
where we're
my
from.
area. I don't think I know anyone who is not a it's not something that we do.
No, I don't necessarily mean the way they do it here, which is something formal, almost like therapy to go to my. I have my own issues with all these things too. That we can discuss at a later time. But I think in the context where we come from, where formal counseling and marriage counseling are not very common, I think you
Mhm,
should be able to listen to people who have been there before, older people who have been married for decades. Listen to their advice. Um,
mhm,
listen to the advice of your friends. Sometimes you're caught up in the emotions that you're not able to see the reality that's in front of you. Yeah, so listen to your parents, listen to older people. You know, let them tell you the experience, and then you can make your own decision from there. Here in the West, and I think in Africa it's growing, but here in the West, there are usually more formal situations where you
mhm.
guys go in and there's a marriage counselor who has been trained. Again, I have my reservations with that, all the counseling world and the therapy world. Um, but yeah, but they help you hash out these difficult conversations. A lot of men, in my opinion, are avoidant. I'm part of that, so are avoidant of all these difficult conversations that they're supposed to have. Believe me, a lot of men are afraid to have difficult conversations with their spouse. They don't want to tell them anything that's bothering them because as men, you're supposed to bundle it
Does,
up.
does yeah, again, yeah, like you were saying, as men, we're supposed to bundle it up and deal with it and face it. And eh, you think that that's even healthy? Because at the end of the day, you deal with all that pressure, the pressure of meeting a certain way of life that you were a party to setting, right? And then at the end of the day, I mean, things happen. Um, Imagine a situation where a man, you lose a job, for
Yeah,
example,
yeah,
and then you don't have the means to meet the standard of living that you had put in place for your girlfriend or your wife or whoever that is. Um, is there an expectation that everyone around you adjusts to that change in your financial situation? Is everyone around you willingly going to do that?
mhm,
Again, let's talk about a man and a boy and a girl who are not necessarily married and there's no real commitment there. Are you expecting them to, step down from here to right down here just to accommodate?
yeah,
Uh, just to accommodate that lack of income again, which had nothing to do, not because you're a lazy man or you're incapable of going out there to get a job. Maybe you got involved in an accident and you really cannot work as much as you used to.
mhm,
um you expect people around you who depend on you to kind of step it down and accommodate and say, okay, this is what we have now, and
mhm.
take it.
I think those are signs of a good relationship when you guys are able to adjust your lifestyle, particularly your significant other is able to adjust lifestyle um, due to change in financial situation. I think it says a lot about your relationship. It certainly says that you guys are working as a team. So that's
But is it always easy?
no,
You
my
think?
no, yeah. Um,
Because the reason why I say this is because I've seen situations where a man works in a company and it goes bankrupt and he's let go
right.
and he's home for like a year or two because he's not able to find a job,
Yeah.
and you see the relationship between this guy and the girl or the woman, and it's a completely different kind of relationship. I don't know if you've come across something like this.
Of course, okay. And we've had this conversation multiple times on our platform. I think, and I'm sure you agree with me, a man's role, like a man's manhood is really tied down to how much he's able to provide his family. If you lose that ability to provide for your family, they begin to question you, even your wife. Granted, sometimes this might be no fault of yours, an accident. You're laid off. I mean, you might not have anything to do with that. But um, I think women can adjust their lifestyles when they see that it has nothing to do with you. But there's any point that's gonna have a limit. They're gonna start questioning you. You see all the people the way that they advertise this job. She's gonna start proposing jobs to you. I don't think it's fair for you, a man, to just quit your job and come and sit in the house and sit on the couch, watch TV, play video games, and just sit there. I think, and you're not doing it necessarily for a woman. Let's say you have kids, you have to do it for your kids and your wife. That's fair. But for yourself too, because again, the ability to be able to provide for your wife is intrinsically intrinsically tied to how you're being viewed as a man.
Mhm.
If you lose your ability to provide, my brother, your manhood drops down. It's like you have little or no testosterone again. So um, I forgot what the question was. Yeah, certainly an adjustment in lifestyle from the wife shows that they are a good team.
Mhm.
Uh, but there's a time window.
There's
You should be able to get your hat
exactly.
and go and do something. You can't just
Mhm.
go out and sit at home. What do you think?
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. I believe that once, for any reason, you lose your ability to meet the standard that is expected of you by the lady you're dating or planning to marry or hanging out with, the relationship, the dynamics completely change. Because again, the thing about lifestyle is, it's not just about you and the person you're with. it has a lot to do with everyone else around you, everything else. It's a societal thing, right? The day your friends don't see you at your club,
Yeah.
because you can't afford the club for that evening, of course, everybody's asking.
Right.
And I think it's all the pressure from everywhere and a certain standard that people have put for themselves that kind of makes it difficult. It makes it difficult for a girl to step down. Oh, my friends know I drive a Benz,
Yeah.
right? Or my friends know I drive a Jeep. Now there's no money and you're planning to sell that Jeep so that you could meet up with other financial.
Right.
She's not going to take that because everybody knows she drives a Benz, right? Or BMW or whatever it is. That everybody knows you own this. You drive. You live in this house.
Mhm.
So just the thought of, hey, maybe we sell this house, downsize, which
Yeah.
is completely reasonable. It's a completely reasonable thing to do. But because there's a certain standard and a certain expectation, not just from her, but her friends and everyone who is connected to her, now she cannot make that move because it means she stepped down,
Yeah.
which is what we would think would be a reasonable thing to do. You need to step down and then start working hard again to go back up to where you thought you were, right? But again, I don't think most people think about it that way.
Um. Again, like it, it's a sign of a good relationship if you and your wife can be able to discuss that, or your significant, you guys can be able to discuss that and adjust. I think it really shows a healthy relationship between you. But if you have to lie and your wife is adamant that this is the lifestyle that she has, she doesn't want to change for what any reason whatsoever. In other words, everybody thinks their way or the highway. You as a man, you lost your ability for. Like, granted, it's not something that's gonna is affecting your health, so you can do something else in the meantime while you look for your job, or you, the
Hmm.
wife, you accept that no, this is a lifestyle. I would rather go in debt than for me to change my lifestyle. I think these are pretty red flags that happen in a
Hmm.
relationship. Yeah. Um.
And these are not things that the thing about red flags that you mentioned a couple of times is men say it and then they ignore it. I don't know if they are ignoring it because at the time they can deal with it, or if they are hoping that the individual in question would change.
Right.
And there's always a very big mistake. Oh, I will change her. Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
she's going to change. Oh, it doesn't happen. They say you can't teach an old dog a new trick, or you
People
can
change.
the other. There's no way that is what she is. She is accustomed to a certain lifestyle.
Yeah.
She's not going to change that for you.
No.
She might just have to move to someone else who is able to afford the lifestyle that she wants.
Yeah.
But but we see it. We definitely see, but we do not acknowledge that this is a potential problem. I should either deal with it now or I should wash my hands and say, this is more than me.
But
I cannot deal with it and then leave, which is definitely okay.
yeah.
It's definitely okay to do that.
Yeah. I was gonna say people change, but usually for the worse.
Yeah,
Everybody.
people don't change for the better like that.
If if your woman is asking you to buy her a car when you guys just started a relationship, she's gonna ask you to buy a thing when you
Of
guys start a
course.
relationship. So yeah, the question is
No,
people change. Yes,
they,
it to be best for the
I
worse.
I I have noticed it always starts small. Oh, I need an iPhone 14
Right.
because I need to be able to talk to you.
Right.
Video calls are better. It's brighter. It's this. It's this. It's this.
Well, the
And
thing.
then you oblige.
Yeah.
Yeah, you oblige, right? And then 2 months after, it's like, nah, this Okada thing that I'm taking here and there to see you, I can't be paying Uber all the time. I need to be
Right.
able to get to you when you want to and as quickly as possible.
Right.
Maybe we should get me a car. It always starts small and then it grows. And we men because you're able to accommodate an iPhone 14 or whatever, you think, oh, it's fine. I'll just get her the iPhone. And then, no, she's asking you for a car 2 months later,
Yeah.
right? And then she's upgrading the car because maybe it got her a little, how they call it, and now she wants something better. And she's always wanting something better.
No way.
So men too need to be able to at some point say no, even if it's something that you could do. But if you feel like it's a trend and you feel like this is not the trend I want to see, at some
Right.
point you should be able to say, hey man, I cannot do this. Not necessarily because I don't have the means to, but because it's either not necessary or because I have plans for the money. The money that you want me to get you a new car, I am planning to put that money in this and in that and in that. I feel like sometimes men have plans about their money, about things they want to do. They either don't share it with the ladies in question,
But
or if you don't share it with the lady in question, then they start making plans for the money that you have, and you're making plans for something else. So sometimes men don't really share their plans, how they see the future in 2 3 years. What do I plan to do? Maybe if you share that with a girl, say, hey, you know what? We are not going to get a new car today or now, because that 5 million or that $30,000 that we have, I want to put it there as a down payment for a house or something like that, right? Men need to be able to communicate that. Hopefully, it gives a little bit of transparency, and then hopefully the other person is a little more reasonable,
yeah,
to see value in what you have plans for. I don't know that we do that enough.
I think so. Generally, I think women and children, they don't know how to manage. The man can live on a couch uh, and his pillow and maybe his computer desk, and that's it, his clothes, and he'll be fine, for the entirety of time. But as soon as you start introducing a woman into your relationship, and then once if students start coming in, the entire picture changes. Oh, you see, we need to change the mattress. It's not good. It hurts on the back. It's not good. Oh, we need to buy new carpet. We need TV to watch. Oh, we need a couch. Oh, we need a car. This car is making noise. This car is a little bit. We need a phone, like you said earlier. So I think men have this ability to be able to live simply and be fulfilled in their life in a way that women and children cannot. So just throwing that out there.
Hmm.
One question that I wanted us to kind of ask, because especially when you're married, you have the advantage of time and retrospect to be able to see back and say, oh, this would have been the questions which would have been nice or expected to be asked, to get into the relationship. Most people who are married or who are in a long-term relationship, they have that advantage to be able to look back. It's not the same for people who are getting into the relationship for the very first time. Um, Again, caught up in the oxytocin and all the dopamine and all the love emotions that are there. Um, these questions, I'll argue, are very difficult for people who are still trying to impress each other to be able to figure out at the beginning stages of their relationship. What would you advise single people, single young people who are trying to get into relationships and don't have the experience with to ask these questions?
When people go for job interviews, they ask them, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I think that's a legitimate question to ask someone you're interested in. Where do you see yourself? What are your plans? What
Yeah,
what ambitions? Because you want people to maybe not necessarily have a really clear vision of where they want to be in 5 years, but at least have an idea. They should have a foundation,
yeah,
right? This is what I'm doing. I'm studying, I don't know, finance, or I'm doing nursing, because this is the direction I want to go, right? Because again, it's not just talking about kids. How many kids do you want to have? Or if again you get to that, you want to also talk about what they are interested in doing with
yeah,
their lives, right? You also want to talk about what they are willing to contribute in the life that you two eventually kind of put together. Because sometimes they say, oh, the man's money is our money in a relationship, right? And then my money is mine. No, you want to know what she's willing to put, to
yeah.
add on to what you already have. Like, I hear the questions every day. They ask women, what do you bring to the
What do
table?
you do?
I don't care that you're beautiful. I don't care that there's always one thing. It's like, I bring me. No, what do you mean you bring you? What is you? What's your value?
Yeah,
What's your value, right? People need to ask that. You need to ask. You might, when you ask, you must sound like a weirdo. Nobody woman wants you to ask them that kind of
yeah.
question. But if you really are serious and you want to have
Mhm.
a long-term, productive, sustainable relationship, man, you better start asking those questions now.
Yeah,
Better start asking those questions now. Um, You don't want a woman who thinks that every summer vacation you have to go to Barbados, you have to be in Cuba every summer. No, 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 no. You have to know all that. I know this woman is all about,
Mhm.
having fun and going out and you know how even the basic question is how do you have fun? What do you do for fun? It's
Right.
pretty important because there are women out there who fun for them is nightclubs, is bars, is drinking, is concerts, it's travel, it's this, it's that. Now you have to start thinking, is
Uh,
that me? Is that something that I can do? Is that something that my financial means would allow me to do with this woman or with this girl? Right? You need to start asking yourself those questions from the
you
beginning.
know,
From
yeah.
the beginning, yeah.
We watch a lot, we read a lot of books and listen to a lot of podcasts. A lot of people say we have to agree on four things, and you guys know you're compatible: religion, um,
Hmm.
raising children, finances, and I think the fourth one is in-laws. So
Hmm.
if you agree on all those things, then you guys are on a good path to having a um, more successful relationship.
Hmm.
Yeah, but all those things, like practically, what do they mean? And I like the questions that you put, like, how do you see yourself in 5 years? I think it's non-threatening. It's open-ended questions, so you guys can fill in the gaps however you want. But you
Hmm.
can, if you have more experience, you can be able now to use that answer and have more incisive questions. Okay, in 5 years, you say you want to have children. How is it going to look like when we have two
Hmm.
children and you cannot work? And do you have to stay home to raise the children? Do they
Hmm.
have to go to daycare?
Hmm.
Are we sending them to school? Do we have your in-laws come to raise them? How are we raising the children? Are you going to raise them Christian? Are you going to raise them Catholic? Are you going to raise them Protestant? Whatever. So those are important. What do we do with our money? So those are important questions that you should be able to ask. But I think they come an experience. Um, Again, I think all this advice from area people who have been there before you, they can be able to help you guys. You ask these questions precisely. Marriage counseling, I don't want to sound like I'm pushing marriage counseling. I think it's important, but
Hmm.
it's not the end of the relationship. You can go to marriage counseling and they have and still yeah, you can go to marriage counseling and all they do is tell you the man what's wrong with you in that relationship and how you have to do better. So they have their own issues there, but I think marriage counseling at the end of the day can help you ask those questions. Um, so my advice to young people is listen to advice from older people, go to marriage counseling. It has its advantages and has a way to help you shape that question.
There's also one thing that I just wanted to let men know. There's a woman there for every man.
Right.
In terms of your means, right? Because even the poorest man on earth has a woman.
Yeah.
Would have a woman if they wanted to, right? Because again, you cut your coat according to your size. If you
Are you saying you don't believe in soulmate?
soulmate,
That's that's a bullshit statement. For like this,
soulmates, when after 2 years, what happens to that?
I know.
I don't believe in that. It's nonsense.
All these love stories, they always make it like sound like this one special person in the world
Nah,
specifically cast just for you. Your soulmate.
no,
That is just a cringe-worthy statement to say that, oh, my soulmate. I think soulmates are built, they are not found. You know,
exactly.
people think like, oh, this one unique person that was specially crafted by God to them. I think that's bullshit.
It
Absolutely.
is typical. It's typical
Fairy
fairy
tale.
tale cuckoo land type belief. If you believe in that, well, yeah, good for
Those are,
you. But I feel sorry for you
yeah.
too, all right? Because it's not a real thing. Because you see people today, oh, my soulmate here, yeah, the rip out of my
I
what cage,
have more,
whatever.
I have more respect for people who have been married for years and they call themselves soulmates. Those people deserve my respect.
Yeah,
But you
yeah.
cannot be in a relationship and you're calling someone your soulmate. That's weird.
You met someone yesterday and they are your
That
soulmate
is
today. Yeah, like
soulmate.
yeah,
That's
you
fake.
have that relationship hasn't stood the test of anything.
Yeah,
Just wait.
Yeah,
Just wait until you have one or two kids. Money becomes an issue, and
yeah,
kids are driving you crazy, and in-laws and everybody is on your neck.
yeah.
And then you tell me this is my soulmate, and then I'll say, yeah, it makes sense. Not after 2 days, not after a month. That's
Uh,
crazy.
so many is BS. I think it's BS. My personal opinion, I feel like, oh, not, I don't feel like, I think people who are ready and at the stage in their life that they're willing to get married have better chances of being married and staying married than people who are caught up in all the love emotion. If that makes sense. So I feel like there's more. It's more of the right time than it is the
Hmm.
right person. In my
Hmm.
opinion, it's because you guys. That's why people in high school they still break up. They are soulmates, but they still break up
Hmm.
because they are so much in love that it is not the right time for me.
Hmm.
Um, um, so I think like if you guys are both willing and you agreed on majority of those things that we discussed a few minutes ago, you have a better chance of walking through the hurdles of marriage than depending on love to carry you guys through and looking for your soulmate.
How do you even go looking for a
I don't know
soulmate,
if you
man?
agree with that.
Unless you have a certain kind of I don't know what you need to have to be able to
Yeah,
find someone and
think of
usually
what
think.
the TV shows are pushing. You know, if you watch all these TV shows, Bachelors, Love Island, blah blah blah, they're all pushing this idea that there's one person out there in the world of 6 billion people or more that is specifically crafted to you. That is made for your own specs. I call that bullcrap.
Yeah, that's what television and social media and everything else will tell you. But
And it's
when
sad
it
because a
comes
lot
to
of
reality,
people, that women believe in these things.
hmm, of course, women would. Who else would believe in something like that? Um, but when it comes to reality, man, it's completely different. It's not the same thing. It's not real. It doesn't happen. Talk to any man who's married to any woman, they will tell you that this soulmate concept is not a concept for a real life situation.
Yeah.
If you believe in it, well, just like people say love at first sight, I believe in crazy
Yeah.
phenomenons. It's well, good for you, good for
Good for
you.
you.
Not anything that I would believe in myself.
Yeah. So almost at the top of the hour, we're going for an
Hmm.
hour, more
Hmm.
than I would expected. No comments. I think we kind of hashed
So
out
far. Yeah.
what we're supposed to do. Um,
Uh, just just a few things that I think we kind of touched on. So I'll just give a quick rundown. Kind of men have to be honest with their financial situation.
yeah,
Be able to tell a woman what your financial situation is. Um, be willing to tell a woman that you can or cannot do something, and be willing to say no, no matter what the consequences might be. If it means losing a relationship because you have boundaries and you put your foot down and you're standing there. If that's what needs to happen, well, I think it saves you a lot of trouble
yeah,
um, in the long run, right? Also talked about men, trying to impress women by going above and beyond their